Hello, everybody. A couple days ago, a user on Reddit named Howling Bird posted this post, and I'm going to read it. It's titled, As a newer player, Dwarf Fortress was bland and even completely lacking, but I've realized something about Dwarf Fortress and the community. So that's the title of the post. I'm going to read the post, and then we're going to talk about it, because I think this is an interesting post. Let's dive in. Pardon my longer waffling on this post. That is undoubtedly looking a little too deeply into the experience. At the end of the day, Dwarf Fortress is like any other game, but it has really made me realize why the game is so beloved whilst being so abstract. When I first came to play Dwarf Fortress, I had recently just come into the genre from playing RimWorld. I had fallen in love with colony management and storytelling of the characters of RimWorld, but Dwarf Fortress always seemed like the much beloved original of the genre. I won't compare the two, as I know it's a heated discussion, but eventually I came over. My first experience with Dwarf Fortress was that it was fun, and it was easier than I expected to pick up, but fun. Quickly though, with my easygoing hunkered-down playstyle, the game became bland. Digging further down wasn't something I felt I needed to do, and I didn't really know what else to do with the game. So I stopped playing. I thought of it as a fun experience and moved on with it, ultimately being a slightly more bland experience than RimWorld. However, eventually I came back to revisit my still infant but striving fortress of 246 dwarves, humans, and whatever creatures had decided to take home in the much beloved Tavern and Inn. And I began playing again, but I stopped playing it like a game and stopped worrying about making every little thing perfect, optimizing, or seeking out the next goal, and instead simply observed. It was then, forward, the true amazing beauty of this game actually began to show itself. The only metaphor I can make is, it's like when you're a child and you play with an action figure or inanimate toy, and you have all of these imaginations, other worlds and journeys, and these stories that seem to come to you with ease. And then you can spend hours playing with something that seems magical to you. And as you become an adult, this ability seems to slip through your fingers. If you were to pick up the same kind of toy, you could maybe jiggle it around within a minute or two, and you'd put it down and move on. It doesn't seem like anything of note, when in reality, it's all there, just waiting for you. And that's Dwarf Fortress for me, personally. It's a game where I feel it has finally made a canvas and world that if I'm willing to put the effort in to begin relearning what it is to actually imagine these things that, in the end, are completely pointless, but really do bring out a massive sense of wonder and joy as you explore them. And this isn't to say Dwarf Fortress is an inanimate object that sits there limp until you put effort in, because it's not, and that's the beauty of it. It's so much more, as you don't have to make up the stories. They're all there, but you actually have to use your imagination to find them. Perhaps this is simply a love letter to the game and the community, but I'm a relatively new player, and this has genuinely been one of the most warming and beautiful games I have played in years. It's a shame that so many cast this game aside, and I understand why. As we get older in our busy lives, it's hard to justify a game that needs something from the player in order to be extraordinary. I'm confident other games, RimWorld, Minecraft, or any other game can bring out the same experience and realization, but for me, it's Dwarf Fortress. So first off, I just want to say that is a lovely little letter to the community. So Dwarf Fortress launched on Steam last year, right? Basically a month from recording this, it will have been a year old on Steam. Dwarf Fortress is a game that many, many people have played over the years, and I think many people have a very similar relationship to this letter to the community. Just as an example, many players that I've talked to over the years, it took multiple tries to actually get into the game, myself included. I mean, I first installed Dwarf Fortress in 2009 and didn't properly learn the game until 2017. So what, almost 10 years later? Something that I've been seeing, and this was noted also in the Future of the Fortress post that I just read for a video I uploaded yesterday, that something I've been noticing, and this was also mentioned in the Future of the Fortress post video that I uploaded yesterday, is that Dwarf Fortress sold a lot more copies in October. And also the player base has been trending upwards. Now, some people pointed out in the comments of that video that, well, it's still only about 2,000 people playing. Sure, but we don't see the number of people that are playing the free version. And there's a lot of people that are still playing the free version. Maybe that's just a couple hundred people. Maybe it's more than that. We don't really know. But when it comes to the paid version of Dwarf Fortress, those numbers are starting to trend back up. I don't think Dwarf Fortress is a game that you can get into necessarily necessarily the first time round. Some people get grabbed by it immediately and fall into it, and then suddenly 800 hours have passed. But I think for a lot of people, and this is something that I noticed a lot last December, is that they dive in, they expect the game to be like every other video game, and then they put a bunch of time in, they get frustrated with something, and then they back away and never come back. Or think they will never come back. And then a couple years later, they do. And it's not inevitable to me, but it's really interesting to start to see this happen with the newest additions to the community. Like Dwarf Fortress, as I said for years, people would start playing, bounce off for some reason, whether that be the graphics, the control scheme at the time, or just simply the obtuseness of learning the game, or, as this player explains here, once you kind of get past that curve, the game suddenly appears relatively easy. And then it takes a little bit of imagination. Somebody actually left a negative review for the game on Steam back probably close to a year ago now, where they described the game as fantasy Mad Libs that you kind of put together in your brain, and they found that to be boring and not their thing, which is fair, but that is actually how I kind of think of Dwarf Fortress now. It's a procedurally generated universe of fantasy Mad Libs that you can do whatever you want with. And I think that this is a really powerful gameplay mechanism that not many other games employ. Now, when I talk about the player base kind of trending upwards again, the player base had trended down to about 1,100 players at peak times on the weekends and about 600 during the weekdays back in August. And now that we've hit October again, that number is trending upwards. Now, that could be attributed to the fact that Dwarf Fortress generally has an older player base and summer's coming to an end, at least for the Northern Hemisphere, and people are starting to play games again. So it could be that. But maybe it's because a lot of people are suddenly going, maybe let's give this a second shot. And honestly, if you're one of those people and you've taken a long break, let me just remind you, the game has literally had a 100% frame rate increase on my computer since it launched on Steam back in the beginning. Loading up old fortresses that I used to run at, 15 frames a second now run at 40, 45, sometimes even higher. The game has had some of the biggest performance improvements it's ever had. And if you have that thought in your brain, thinking, maybe I should give that game another shot, maybe now's the time. Although, maybe I'm just speaking out of line. I'm just very, very happy having read this love letter to the community. So, as a member of this community, I just wanted to say, Howling Bird, if you somehow end up watching this video, thank you for the post. It was a lovely story. And if you have been playing Dwarf Fortress, do you have a similar story to this? Did you bounce off initially? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear it. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.